I had these two choices. It's like option A, I go with something safe and logical, and I'm sure it would be fine. But then I didn't really feel like particularly passionate about it. And then there's this other option that is completely the opposite. It's scary, it's new, it's uncharted territory, but I feel a draw towards it. I feel kind of called in that direction. And so finally, here now, I've kind of made that decision and I've decided to choose to pursue the latter. Definitely wasn't an easy choice. It's still something I kind of wrestle with a little bit in my mind, still kind of having some fears and doubts about it. But if I take a step back and I say, like, Daniel, if you're truly trying to live this Christ centered life like you really want, like, what better way than to take this giant leap of faith regarding your career? And so there was a lot of prayer and reflecting and just kind of tossing and turning about this decision before I actually made it. And it wasn't until one day, like, I just kind of had this thought. And the thought was like, okay, what if my daughter came to me and was like, hey, dad, I don't know which school I should go to, or I don't know which career path I should take? I could sit there and make that decision for her, but what I think I would actually say is, look, it really doesn't matter where you decide to go to school or what career path you decide to choose. I'm going to be here for you. Like, I love you, I care for you, and I'll support you regardless. Even if you decide later on at some point that you need to change directions, or maybe you made a mistake and you need to, you know, do something different, I got your back. I support you. And I kind of felt like in a lot of ways when I saw it through the lens of that, of being a dad, I felt kind of in a way that that was how God was trying to talk to me. It didn't really matter so much whether I went with option A or B or even C. What the real big important point was that God was going to provide for me and he would be there for me regardless. I think sometimes we get kind of paralyzed by trying to figure out what God wants for our lives. I know that's me in this case. I think we kind of treat it almost like it's like a treasure hunt. There's one specific answer out there and it's our job to find it, and we do it by like looking for signs or trying to decode stuff here and there. We think there's this one career path that we're meant to do, or there's that one soulmate that we're supposed to marry. And to be honest, like, I don't know if that's really actually how it works. I came across this verse in Proverbs, and it reads, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, and he will direct your paths. And so, at first glance, you read it, or at least I read it, and I was like, okay, that just means like I'm going to trust God really, really hard. I'm going to love him a lot, and he's going to tell me where to go. And I think kind of yes and no, because what I've come to learn is that there's something in there that does get overlooked. And it implies that we're already moving, that we're already in this walk, this journey. When it says he will direct your paths, it implies that there's already action being taken place. And God's direction comes to us not when we're standing still. There's another part in the book of Acts where Paul is on his missionary journey. He's trying to figure out where he's supposed to go. And so the first place he goes is Asia, because that's where he thinks he's supposed to go. So he's going, and then the Holy Spirit prevents him from going there. And so he decides to change directions, and he starts going towards Bithynia. And again, he's prevented from going there. And it's not until that he gets a vision that he's actually supposed to go to Macedonia. And so he course corrects, and he now knows where he's supposed to go. And again, I think that just kind of further supports the verse in Proverbs where the answer didn't come to Paul in the stillness. He was moving. He made a choice. He thought he was supposed to go here, or he thought he was supposed to go there. And so he started taking action. He started doing it. And it wasn't until he was already on his journey that God eventually gave him the answer, the vision of where he was supposed to go. I don't know why this is the case. I kind of think about this personally for in my life. It's like, when I think back 10 years ago when I first started my career in video, back then I thought that's what I was supposed to do. Fast forward to now, and I'm kind of changing directions. There's a part of me that feels like, oh man, I wish I knew this 10 years ago. Then I wouldn't have wasted 10 years pursuing this one thing only to change directions later to this other thing. And I guess if you see it from that perspective, yeah, it does feel kind of lousy to feel like you wasted a bunch of time and effort. But, I think that's part of the process. That's part of the journey. That's part of the movement that Paul was going through also. So yeah, I'm not sure why, but I guess that's just how things work. The second thing that just also kind of helped me get to this decision too was feeling confident and knowing that I can trust in my decision, trust in my choice. I found out about this verse in Psalms, and the verse reads, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart." So again, without knowing anything, just first pass, it just sounds like, okay, God is going to give me whatever I want as long as I love him and obey him. But what I've actually come to find out is what that verse is actually saying is when you have decided to really surrender your life to God, that you're genuinely going to go grow closer to him, that you're going to have a relationship with him, that you're going to want to learn about him and know him, that your desires will start to reflect God's desires as well. And when that happens, you can trust in your desires a lot more, knowing that what you want and desire reflects God. And what you might actually realize is that God is trying to speak to you through the desires that you're so drawn to. I think with all this said, I do want to clarify that something could probably get easily misinterpreted, which is I don't believe that God just is willy-nilly indifferent to the decisions that we make. I think there's obvious things that are outside of his will, his design, his character. That's the stuff I'm not really talking about. But I think, again, once you've really decided to follow God and really give your life to him, there is a pretty wide spectrum of freedom that he grants us to choose from and that he trusts us to choose from. Again, going back to the example with my daughter, I'm not indifferent to whatever she wants to do. If she came to me and was like, "Hey, Dad, I don't know if I want to be a car thief or a drug dealer," or something like that, absolutely, that's not even up for debate. Like, I would correct her immediately right then and there as her father. But for a lot of the things that kind of live in that gray zone, like if, who am I to say if she can't pursue becoming a movie star or a famous athlete or a electrician or a teacher or whatever? I think those are really important decisions that she makes for herself. I wouldn't want to make those decisions for her. And so I believe God kind of grants us the same kind of privilege. So, kind of going back to the whole dilemma I was going through, it was like on one hand, it's like I choose a safe and logical option, which, I don't really feel particularly called towards, but, it just makes sense. And I'm sure it would be fine if I went with that. But then there's this other thing that is very scary and new and a lot of unknowns there. But I feel like this deeper calling, this deeper pull towards that direction. I'm kind of here now, and I'm taking a very big leap of faith. And day by day, I'm trying to figure out what this looks like. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of mistakes along the way, but I believe it's part of the process. And I believe that God is taking me somewhere beyond what I can imagine. And more than anything, I just want to be just a good steward, a good servant for his kingdom, and just really live out the life that he is designed and called for me. And so I feel like where I've landed with all this is I guess what I was looking for was God telling me exactly which one to choose. But instead of him saying, "Hey Daniel, choose this or choose that," I feel like instead what he said was, "I love you, I trust you, and I will provide. But you got to make a choice. You got to do something. So start doing something." And so, yeah, I guess with all that, maybe if you find yourself in a place where you're kind of wrestling with stuff, you're having a hard time committing to something or trying to make a decision. I think at the very least what I've kind of learned from all this is just start doing something. Start being proactive and make a choice. And it's okay if it's the wrong choice later on, but you got to just start doing something. But don't let fear, don't let worry, don't let these things get in the way of you fully trusting in God. That's all I got for today. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.